All right, let's get this party started. Let's start with pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first order is to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Yay, perfect. Woo-hoo. All right. Students of the month. Or student of the month. I don't know where the others are.
So, our students of the month, this is our last month doing students month because.
For the
For the year.
Yeah.
For the year, yeah, because, this Friday, the students who are selected as student of the month, all their names go onto a ballot, they go out to teachers, and those teachers select students of the year from that ballot. So there's only 7 student names even on that ballot. Monroe is only one of 7 middle school students, even up for nomination for middle school student of the year. So what happens is to be selected as a student of the month, I send out a request for students of the month at the end of the month to find out about the student for that month. That's why she's being recognized as April. And then I get a number of students' names to me, and I share that with the administrative team. And we look at all the different nominating statements that are made by the teachers. From that, we select the ones that were most kindly spoken to. Now, in Monroe's case, hers is a little bit different. She was actually nominated by 2 different teachers, which is actually only happens a couple times a year when that happens. And so tonight we have Erin Payne here who'd like to speak to Monroe's nomination. And I also have, if you don't mind reading, I also have Mr. Engel's comments here that he had to say about Monroe as well. So if you guys would kind of look.
That's okay.
So what I like, I've actually known Monroe since a long time. She's overcome a lot of personal obstacles for a 7th grader. Actually even walked here today to come get her award from her house. If that doesn't speak to who Monroe is, that would say when she comes into a room, she lights that room up. Her classmates say she's funky, but I mean that in the best way. So I have her on my track team, and that's why I really wanted it. I've seen her in action. She's kind to everybody. She strives for excellence with her grades, and she's a straight A student, right? Almost.
Yeah, her seasonings.
Oh, seasonings. But the one thing that I will say that Monroe has completely changed the environment for her class. And anybody that knows Monroe knows that. I mean, that is all the stuff too. If you have anything, we endorse Monroe. And she could not go.
Mr. Engel says, Monroe was nominated by her science teacher, who writes, Monroe has been helpful and participates in discussions and comes with a desire to learn to class. She continues to set a good example for her classmates and tries to help them stay focused.
She
I want to know how she does that.
Funky, that's how. And right, how many times has she marched into your office with something?
Yeah.
If there's something going awry, if somebody's not being kind to somebody, she will always let us know. Like, she's got so much integrity and.
Little accident from.
And she PR'd in her 1500 this.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Now, let's get her home safe, right?
Yeah. Great job.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. You're welcome.
It's going to be blamed.
So our other 2 students of the month, our high school student of the month is Brian Malone. And he was nominated by Mr. Engel, who wrote, "Brian has been proactive in completing his assignments. He has also been willing to take on additional assignments without being requested. Additionally, he is a good example and assists the other students in reminding them to stay on track." Our elementary student is Madeline Dean. And the teacher,
Yeah, she,
I don't have anything from her.
The teacher was supposed to be here this evening.
I'll make sure that, I will make sure these guys are delivering these awards maps and
He's a good teacher.
That'd be lovely. Thank you.
So two of these students are helping the other students stay on track. That's kind of amazing, right? Get on track, you guys.
And I gotta tell you, that our high school guy, I'm really sorry he's not here tonight because our high school guy was one of the guys that needed to be put on track last year. I mean, he's really come a long way. And,
Good.
yeah, it's really outstanding. Actually, when I called home to inform the family, his mom was kind of like, "Oh."
What now?
This Joe? Not the first time we called.
All right, charter board meeting reports.
So yes, the charter board did meet back on the 21st of April and we're able to have a little bit of business pass. We did not have a quorum, but we did have a board member call in just so that we could do some business by phone. We did have the high school math curriculum presented by Brian Jinks, and he had a chance to talk about the curriculum and some of the things that we want to do with high school math. There was also, Kathy Knapp presented some information on the third quarter grades. I had a PowerPoint on the integrated plan, but we did not get an opportunity to watch because we didn't have a quorum and we couldn't approve it to forward to the school because we didn't have that quorum. We had a number of items that we did want to discuss, but we are moving them to the May agenda. I did share that we do have a facilities team working on a 5-year plan for our facility, and that they were meeting on this shortly after that, shortly the same week as this meeting. That group is actually meeting again this week on the 16th. And that's pretty much the majority of that.
So when's the charter board meeting this month?
Um,
Met last week. But
Well, okay, so last week, we did not have a charter board meeting because we did not have a quorum.
right, so did they
This is-
reschedule it or are they just doing it in June?
I'm assuming we're doing it in June, yes, because we've not set another date.
Is the board not full or people just not showing
I
up?
think we're missing one seat, I believe. I think we have,
Missing one seat, and one person, Kathy here, did show up in the meeting. She doesn't communicate. She has a huge job as an educator. We were fortunate to have her. She was here when we chartered. She knows who we are. She's a top teacher. Now she's moved into administrative work. So I'm sorry that she wasn't able to inform her. Aaron forgot or something to take his home. And his mother, Mariah, we reached her on the phone, but she
she was at her child's baseball game.
that was it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Who's
then,
done
and then Ann was at a softball game.
Well, Anna hasn't been attending, and I didn't realize that her work schedule was conflicting with her assignment. So maybe we do that too. Awesome.
Thank you. Public input. Chase, did you want to speak now?
Sure.
Perfect.
So I just have some questions about the ag program and the FFA program and, just where do we, I have a couple of questions about that actually. It's like it's currently, I've seen that grow over the past, few years. It had kind of not even being here and it kind of like not been doing so well and it's kind of back on the rebound and it's growing and, FFA is such a great program that it challenges kids to do hard things. And even just my own child, seeing him grow in that has been amazing. So I really would like to know what is the plan because I know our ag teacher is leaving. I've heard rumor that we're getting a new ag teacher. And so I'm just concerned parent wondering, is like, are we going to keep with that growth or are we going to do what we did before?
Well,
So,
I can speak a little bit. to that. So we have a person on staff who actually has a FFA background, okay, who lives in this community actually, and went through the program herself. And we're getting her endorsed to teach it. And so she's very high energy. And as a matter of fact, I've been contacted by some people from families that left our program that are now coming back because of this. So I'm actually optimistic about where that's going. Mr. Lopez did, in my 2 years here, he took the program from 6 kids to 22. So I know why you're concerned. I totally get that. But I'm optimistic that we're going to continue to see not just growth, but I think also some expansion.
that is great because it's been great to see the expansion this year and them going to more competitions and being more involved and things. So it's nice to see them branch out. The other question I had is because I don't often come to meetings. In fact, this is the first one I've ever been to here, but I do get online and I do read the agendas and I do read the minutes to see what's going on.
Yay.
So, thank you for putting those online. In fact, I was calling to do sign up for public comment today. And I was like, I don't see an agenda. So I'm just like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be able to comment on something on the agenda, but I don't see it. But it was up there shortly after. But I was reading through some of the old minutes. So I know that my understanding is, reading through some of the old minutes, that there was some land that the FFA program was using that is now going to be allocated for the softball field, which I kind of understand because the softball field is kind of terrible. So I understand that part of it. But so if FFA continues to grow and they need to be able to utilize that, is there another spot they can do those things
So
with?
I can answer some of that too. So we had a consultant who came in to talk to us about our softball field because we're looking at making some repairs to it because of its condition. That person suggested we ought to just find another location because of the condition of that soil. Okay. And there was a place we were looking at that was on FFA grounds down here, that grounds I believe FFA maybe added some time ago. But there's some concerns with it in regards to why it would even operate well as a softball field.
Okay.
So those conversations have kind of hit the brakes. They've really not gone anywhere. Now, I will say additionally that we currently have, and I mentioned it a little bit ago, that we have a facilities development team that's coming together right now, and they're meeting about just the whole campus as a whole and about the work that we want to do on the campus over the course of the next several years. We're trying to be mindful about all the things that we want to develop here, as well as what are those isolated spaces that need to be designated for specific purposes like that. Okay, like where the gas lines and, does this field out in front actually belong to FFA? What are those things? And so that's actually the work we're in the process of doing because we don't actually have a record of that. And so we're actually in the process of actually making it.
Great. Thank you.
What was that?
Thank you. Thank you for the answers.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of questions. Thank you.
Good.
Madam Chair, can I say something real quick, please?
Right, sure.
I wonder, Joe, we've only had one meeting and we've got, gosh, I forget his name now. I knew his mom for years we were talking about monkeys the other day.
Finch?
Finch, yeah. We've got Mr. Finch from the public. I just wondered if this lady might be interested in joining
You
us.
certainly will.
No, I have dibs on her for the charter.
Well, we're only meeting like once.
It's true. This group that's working on this is only an ad hoc committee of this designated by the board to actually work on this project. So we're going to meet 3, maybe 4 times total. And if you're interested, we're meeting at 6 o'clock on Thursday night. If you'd like to come participate, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And then at some place along the line, I'd like to have farmers, ranchers and others have the advisory committee reestablished for the FFA.
Yes, I actually spoke with her about that.
With this.
No, with the.
Oh, the one you're talking about. Okay, yeah,
Yes.
she'd be open. to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You're good.
Already talked about that.
Exciting. All right, discussion items. Policies. Okay. Guys, read the policies. Anything. Nobody wants to make eye contact with me.
I've read them. Many times, I believe.
Sweet. Okay, so.
I've read them also, but I haven't read them in the last week, so there's a little lack of familiarity here. I've read them all once.
Okay. All right, so the first one is ACAR.
And is this a required or a suggest, let me see, I got that.
One
here.
is required.
Sorry.
At least according to my cheat sheet, this one's required. And it's technically just updating the one we currently have, so.
And we were going to strike out the civil rights coordinator language and just leave it superintendent.
Yeah, that's right, I remember that. Seems like we talked about this one already.
So with regards to that, Clint, I would recommend keeping the language in there after some research I did today.
Oh.
Okay, it's fine that I designated, that does, but the public law says that we have to have a designated person. So that's why I think we just need to. Okay. By the way, I've been doing my civil rights training today.
That's so fun.
I spent 4 hours doing civil rights training today, and I'm closing out on a third of the way.
I thought I saw more breakers today.
Yeah, I told the other two administrators, I said, you'll know you're in deep with me if I assign you to be the next civil rights administrator. Yeah, actually, with this policy as it's written, I think it's fine to move forward, actually being approved.
So the highlighted part that of step one, where it says if a complaint is filed with the civil rights coordinator, they'll forward it to the superintendent, should we leave that?
Well, if there's the possibility that somebody else is going to be designated as a future civil rights coordinator, I guess we should. If the superintendent and the civil rights coordinator are one and the same, then it's kind of.
I agree.
So then are there any changes anybody wants to make to it? I see one bracket, second to last paragraph on page 1. I don't even know why it's in brackets.
Oh, down there. Okay.
Complaints against the board chair may start at step 2 and be referred directly to the board vice chair. The board vice chair will direct notification to the civil
Yeah, it
rights.
doesn't give you a choice, does it? Yeah. Should just be no bracket.
The other option is the will. And I don't think that works. So I guess we just need to remove the brackets around that wording.
Which brackets are?
Scroll down. Right there. You
Complaints
see the
against the
second
board
last
chair.
paragraph, it says board vice chair. There should be no brackets there, actually.
Okay. So then that will move to a second read next month. Next one. We've got some mirror policies, right? So we got the GBN, JBA, AR1, which is also the JBA, GBN, AR1s. Same thing, different title. And according to my cheat sheet, it says this is not required. Guessing we already have one. So did anybody compare it with our current? Huh? Okay. So these all deal with sexual harassment complaint procedure forms. When current was compared with the newly proposed, the greatest significant difference is language around managing complaints against board members. Previous AR had no language about that. If we feel we should add that language, then Joe would recommend AR ones. If you don't feel it's necessary to accept either of the proposed ARs, we'll keep our existing. They do lay out a process that should be explicit.
Did we revise out gender identity? Did we lose that? This is ACAR one. Did we decide to remove the words gender identity from any of our policies?
Yes, we did. We removed that from one last time. Oh.
So are we going, so we're deciding whether we're going to adopt ACAR one as is that correct?
No,
No, we're on GBN, JBA, AR1.
Oh, okay.
Did you act on ACAR? Or AC?
Well, it gets just moved to a second read for
Okay.
next month. I don't think.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that word. I'll start paying attention, right?
I guess I'm confused because I thought we were talking about ACAR. I don't have a one, it just says ACAR.
ACAR, we are done with.
That's our old policy apparently.
It'll be moved to a second read next month.
Yes, I
All
got
we
that.
did was remove the brackets around.
My specific was where did the.
I said one.
That's my, Todd said one and you said one. I'm not seeing any ones anywhere, so now I'm lost. Because I'm always lost.
There is no one.
There's no one. There's one of these.
There's no one. Okay, I was all up to speed then. Todd, don't be putting.
I'm so sorry, man. I'm
They're hard enough to keep track of. Isn't it?
We're breaking trail ahead of me. I don't know where we're going.
And I guess I don't even know, was this big thick stack of stuff that we got months ago, was this the old policies or was this the new?
So this is a set of policies that came in after the last large group, and then we're starting to go through these now. The reason it's a big stack is because,
Well, it was from November 2024 and it has these same numbers on
Yes,
it.
because they,
But you asked if we had compared it to the current policy. And was the current policy this?
now current policy would be what we put online on our school's website.
Okay, I haven't done any of that. So
Okay.
now I'm up to speed on that. We
Yes,
used to
because
we used to get it on paper form and it compared, and it was already like compared before.
Right, so what happened is, yes, it came in the big packet back in
Yes.
November. And then the OSBA with Trump getting elected in, it got tabled. And now they brought them back
Okay. Which is why I have new copies.
with some
Say proposed.
changes of some sort.
Because these were really hard to read. They had all this highlighted stuff on, them. It was blacking it out. It's kind of like what that did with
Yes.
FBI documents. So. My personal opinion is I'm not for anything that's not required. So,
See, I agree. If it's not required, I don't see any reason to add it to our policies.
And it's not adding it, it's updating it. We already have the policy. The change is whether we want the language added about managing complaints against board members. Because our current policy doesn't have any language about complaints against board members.
Sexual harassment complaints against board members.
Can we talk?
That's what we're talking about
can we
here,
talk
right?
about where that is in these pages, so I don't have to read all of it? Can you point me to the paragraph or the sentence? Okay, I can't. I'm going to stick with what I already said. I'm not for anything that's not required. That's my vote.
What's your view, Charlie?
Well, Joe, why would you like to propose this particular part?
Well, so it's really just about that part about the board, okay? And is that even necessary is the question,
Yeah,
okay? Because honestly, complaint procedures are very codified in our practices already in our policies. And so that's why in my recommendation, I said, if you guys want to, then, if you want to include board language, then I would go with the one model because it's not as thick as two, basically. Okay? I mean, seriously. I mean, that's really not the truth. It's in, and our current system would address this anyway, even though it doesn't say board members. Our current complaint procedure addresses board behavior. So when you look at complaints, this is looking solely at sexual harassment complaints like Todd pointed out, okay? There's a whole other series of complaint procedures that do include the board. So I think this is, like I said in my statement initially, I wouldn't go down this road. I think it's kind of a little bit of a waste of time because there's already procedures in place. Now this is just calling out creating procedures for sexual harassment complaints against board members.
Complaints against the superintendent or a board member other than the board chair may start at step 3 and should be referred to the board chair on behalf of the board. Board chair will cause required notices to be provided. Board chair shall present the complaint to the board. Board may use executive session if the subject matter qualifies under Oregon law. If the board decides an investigation is warranted, the board may refer the investigation to a third party. When the investigation is complete, the results will be presented to the board. After receiving the results of the investigation, the board shall decide within 20 days in open session what action, if any, is warranted. The board chair shall notify the parties in writing that the investigation is concluded, and if a violation of the policy was found to have occurred to the extent allowable by law.
That's very similar to any complaint against the board member.
so are these complaints that we're talking about here, like complaints of sexual harassment that is happening like in-house? Or it's like, it means I went down to the bar and pinched some waitress's butt? What is this? You don't know?
I don't know. I mean, seriously, I'm trying to get my mind around it too.
It's step 3, I can't even.
I say we eliminate anything that we can in this matter in regard to board members. I mean, we're not going to sexually harass anybody sitting here in a board meeting. And what I do on the outside is that doesn't, I mean, if I get busted for something, I expect to be thrown off this board. That's bad behavior.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that, but why do we need language that says
All I
this?
can imagine to answer your question, it would have to be something that's related to school.
School, yeah,
School related.
like with a student or a staff person. I just can't really imagine that happening, but maybe because I don't get as involved in the stuff going on here that as some board members may. Because board members can be on this property, and so we are a risk, you might say, if one of us.
You guys made lunch for the staff last week, right? So there's some interaction.
Yeah, no, I
Back to school,
get it.
yeah.
I'm just trying to
I mean,
understand.
our current policy still covers what the
Yes,
procedure
our
is,
current
it's
policy,
just not.
that language that he just read is very similar to what's in our current policy for just complaints toward board members.
So can we just make a motion or, and when it finally comes to that, to just leave it as is?
Well, I'm in agreement with,
Yeah, leave it as it is.
So table GBN, JDA, AR one and GBN, JDA, AR two.
Choose not to adopt them.
Oh, or just do not adopt.
And then it says, but it says GBN, JBAAR is recommended for deletion, so
Yeah.
I don't think we can,
Yeah, we can't delete it.
we can't delete our current one, so we just keep our current one.
You got that, Don?
So the recommended delete, we're keeping.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll keep that, and we will choose not to adopt any of the ones or twos.
And the reverse policy.
This is two here. You don't have to look at it either now.
We have policy JFE.
So is the highlighted or, is that the additional language to an existing policy? Okay.
So my notes here say this policy is required. We currently have this policy. The differences between this policy and our existing policy is the and or of pregnant and or parenting semantics. I encourage a review and move to adopt it.
I agree.
Yep. I agree too.
Okay. I see brackets on that. You guys, anything we need to change so we could move this one directly to,
Now, but it does say that we will develop guidelines. It's interesting because if that's the additional language in the last sentence, the superintendent or designee will develop guidelines necessary to ensure compliance with the, that would indicate to me that before our policy just didn't say guidelines.
There you go.
Must have said, it must have, what, we developed necessary, that would have been a very incomplete sentence.
You are very attentive.
Words matter.
They do.
Of course, they added periods on the end of these things too. I remember this.
The and or makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
so we have double
Oh, I see what you're
asterisks
saying, yeah.
here. Usually that's used for meetings or some footnotes. I don't see anything on this page. It's the reason why we have double asterisks.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
See, Lakeland? Oh,
Pregnant and or parenting students.
oh, those little stars. Oh, yeah, great and or.
Good question, Joe. I'm having more material.
It's page 1 of 1, so
Doesn't make sense to have it.
I think we should adopt it, just the asterisks.
Yep. What do you need them for? We agree with the and or.
Students was added.
Yeah.
It's just pregnant.
just had it open. Little computers drive me crazy, I'm just saying. We used to have little pretty ones, those were nice. Opened my world. Our current one just says pregnant and parenting students.
policy says.
Yeah, it kind of has a connotation that they're not that they have one kid already and they're about to have another. Which is, kind of ridiculous.
Well, actually, when you get into the law of this thing a little bit more, it's actually about after they've had the child, permitting them to manage that child in some ways that doesn't interfere with their education. So there's a whole bunch of parameters around how we can still deliver them instruction without interrupting their education. Those are the guidelines.
Yeah, but they're not pregnant once they've already had a child.
Now they're parenting.
Now they're parenting.
Now they're parenting. So we're saying this proceeds through the whole process.
Yes.
The pregnant part and the parenting part.
Yes.
My mother was actually this person when I was born.
And it's surprising
pregnant
for
and
such a small
full parenting.
school. Yeah. It's amazing to me that as a small school, how many pregnant and or parenting students we have.
But you could also be parenting as a father.
Absolutely,
Good, yeah.
absolutely.
So we have the right language, we have everything in line here,
I
right?
just don't think we need the asterisks.
No asterisks, that's the only thing we don't need to get rid of. I agree.
Appreciate your double checking this. Okay, and we already have an AR in place for that, so. Which is what last line states, right? So Joe's gonna develop some administrative regulations.
Yeah, there's already some.
Yeah, we have that, and they're not updating that, I guess.
Email OSBA and ask why there's asterisks if we're missing something. That's what
We're just eliminating
it
them.
is. Or I can reach out to them and ask why.
Feel like the idea that nobody
Here.
cares. I was trying to say it differently, Todd.
Dump the asterisks, move on.
Don't waste your time.
I think everybody wants to be done with this policy packet,
Oh.
so, yeah, there you go.
We're getting close.
Okay. We're gonna get caught up here.
That's sick time has an asterisk.
Okay. It does.
Add it to mine.
All right. Third read. Sick time.
This one first. Okay, so the original policy sample that came out had us where we had to either choose where we pay the sick time up front for employees, we front load that 30 hours. Or you do it per every hour that they work, they get, every 30 hours they work, they get an hour. So when we first were recommended from the ESD, they said you had to pick one. And I said, well, I have some employees that worked an hour for us. I'm supposed to give them 40 hours of sick time. And they said, yes. So I said, that just doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, I just can't do it. So, or you're having to track our coaching hours, which is also
Problematic.
So I didn't like either one. So I reached out to other districts in the state and I said, how are you guys handling this? Because how are you tracking it? Give me any advice. So one of the schools sent me their policy and that's what I gave you guys. And I like it a lot better, which it just says both. You're going to front load all of those employees who have, you're either full-time licensed, you're full-time classified, or you're a coach at the beginning of the year, which is what we do now. Then for any employee that's working less than 4 hours, you're going to prorate the hours. And so every time they work 30 hours, we're going to give them 1 hour of sick time, which makes complete business sense. So that's what I got updated on this particular policy. And I like it so much better.
I agree. That's great, Leah. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes. Because I went to go just try to figure out how are we gonna do this in terms of tracking and figuring this out, and I'm like, this didn't make any sense, so I'm just trying to figure out a different way. And there's a couple brackets, I guess, on the second side that I need to just take out.
There's one on the first side too, that last paragraph, sick time shall be taken in hourly increments, and then there's a bracket there.
Yeah.
So if a full-time employee works a month and then takes 40 hours of sick time and then quits a month after they come back to work, they got 40 hours of sick time even though they weren't a full-time employee. Is that correct?
No way.
I don't particularly like that, but I understand that it makes it easier.
Yeah, it's
The
a good,
private sector would never allow it.
no.
Yeah.
It's a good.
That's also in our CBA, so that's our agreement with our contracts with the teachers and our classified, so it's also.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm thinking that this one's good to go, just remove the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 random brackets.
This was, what,
This was third grade. Move that to an action item to vote on it, got all sorts of things down. Okay. That sounds incredibly painful. Next discussion item is a volleyball trip to Vancouver. Something that happens pretty much every year, the Guy Enriquez Skills Camp. Sure.
Later. It's usually August, yeah, right before they come back and start practicing.
More sense.
But, yeah.
It may have been a more convenient week for them or a more convenient location.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns on that?
I'm all for it.
So we can move that to an action item.
Yep.
Thing, I do believe I need motions to move these to action items.
Individually or as a group?
Are you allowed to move the first week to action items, or do those have to sit for another month?
Well, the ACAR is going to be second read, is that what we said? She's got it all up there. So, I mean, technically, I don't know that that's an action item. No. Normally, it's just to go make the changes and put it back on next time. And the ones that we're choosing not to adopt, I don't think that's an action, is it? We need to act.
Right.
We do have to move on.
Okay. Yes, Charlie?
A small question about the camp. I see 2 chaperones. How many trips are we going to need for this camp?
We usually take about 8 or 9.
Yeah, I don't think it's 10. Yeah, I think they were taking the 8-person maybe, so.
6 and 9 kids.
2 vans, looks like, or.
Okay. I don't know the answer to your question, Tony.
Is that?
I said I don't know the answer to your question.
Is there a standard number of chaperones per, or number of children per chaperone?
That's what I was wondering. I know that some things we have decent amount of people. And not some. For FFA, we had just two adults, and that was.
And there are two experienced adults who build every year.
Just curious.
Okay, so where are we moving to action?
All right, so we need an action to move ACA.
I need to delete GBM.
Yeah, deleting A, 2, 3, 5, and 6. So we have to vote on those, right?
Yeah, you can go from the first read to adopt. You can. But if there's going to be changes on the document, you just might want those changes.
Yeah, usually we do this.
But with GBN and the JDA, those that you don't plan to adopt, you can just go right to, delete. The GCBDD, which is cleaned up, oh no, it actually needs some cleaning too, doesn't it?
Just removing some random brackets that are there,
So, I need brackets that are not.
which, I mean, technically, the ACAR, all we were doing was removing a couple of brackets as well, so I don't.
Can we just move all of those to action items? Which one are we not?
Yeah, I think the I mean, all we're doing is removing the brackets around board vice chair. I don't think that's really necessary to create second read, right? So,
Lightweight, and
thanks.
Okay,
Remove brackets and adopt, there we go. So,
can I make a motion that we move the discussion items to action items? That work?
yep, sounds good to me.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? That's everyone.
Okay.
Thank you, Donna. Superintendent report.
Seismic construction update. Well, if you haven't noticed, okay, they've been turned up. What you don't see is they're also under the building. Okay, working on some footings under there as well. We had Sims Electric out here to help manage the removal of these items as well as some other electrical things as that work is also moving forward. I guess probably the most important thing to tell you about is this one spot over on the south wall here. I shared some pictures in the bulletin last week about some dry rot that was found over there. It's not as bad as we thought it might be, actually. And so it's, yeah, really good news, actually. Looks like it actually maybe started in the roof and crawled down, but even the plate that's holding up the framing might need to be cut out. It's not going to be much more than 6 or 7 feet. It's not anywhere near as bad as we thought it would be. In the process, we did find some other things, though. Over on this side, we found what looks like some leakage. It might be coming from boys and girls showers, okay? Which is interesting because the showers are tiled in and it's not apparent as to where it's coming through the tile. So it may actually be in the plumbing that's in the wall. So we're still checking that out. And I don't know anything more about that. Currently, we're meeting with the construction crew and all the contractors and engineers every Friday. We started this last week, but it'll be every Tuesday going forward. Not tomorrow, but the next Tuesday will be our next meeting. And what we do basically at that time is we work through everything that's in the work. What's going on. So I'd say we're off to a good start. Seems like they're very cooperative. Had a few things on the grounds about vocabulary that we might use when students are around, and that's all cleared up now. So it's all good.
Vocabulary with
Yeah,
contracts,
yeah.
how weird.
Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to imagine The Facility Planning Committee, previously known as the 5-Year Planning Committee, I'm changing it to this because as we started talking a couple weeks ago, we had our first meeting. It really became apparent that there's a lot to think about, a lot of different projects that could take place on the campus. And so we had quite a few people show up. I think we had 7 or 8 people. It was a great conversation, very rich, at least I thought. Our next meeting is this Thursday. And at that, what we did the first time is kind of lay the ground rules. We looked at the board's goal that they have for 25-26, and we've selected that as our directive, which is the goal that you guys have set for forming something along this line. And so we're using that to kind of be our guiding light. So as we meet this next time around, we're going to be looking at many of the things that have been discussed as projects on campus, talking about what those priorities might be, how some of them might group, which order they might be best in. We're also talking about how we might want to think about the campus with regards to planning. This goes back to your whole question about FFA property. There's like, not just those type of plots, are they in play, are they not in play, but also there's other things to consider like gas lines, water lines, data lines, where are they running at? Do we really want to put a pickle cord on top of one? I mean, you know, all of those types of things. And so there's just some pre-thinking that we think we need to be doing about what plots of land are truly available. And if these other ones are available, then what's underneath the ground, or as we learned in one case, what's overhead. So that's really what our next step looks like when we meet this Thursday. And I'm hoping that we'll have one more meeting before the summer hits, maybe another one in August, and maybe polish some things up. But I think the conversation's been good. Then the integrated plan has now been submitted to the state. They haven't barked about it, so I think we're on the right path with it anyway, so we'll see. I will say that at our budget meeting, we had one budget member who said that they'd like to see a little more clarity about what that plan is. So I've asked our comms specialist to add the PowerPoint that we had at this meeting, kind of gave a little bit more detail about what the actual plan looks like. Put that on our website page. I'll double back that budget committee member, see if that gives her the kind of depth that she's looking for, if she wants something different. And that's all I have.
Okie dokie. Consent agenda items. Approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting and the minutes from the budget committee meeting. Got a couple of contracts to approve. New science teacher, and I assume we would like to keep Kathy. That would be grand. Couple of resignations. So if anybody has questions,
She said she's.
talk about those. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve all consent agenda items. That's pretty good.
What's going on with the resignations?
So Mr. Fuller has been looking for over a year at trying to do something different just because of the income.
Oh.
Okay. And he recognizes now being a married man, he needs to make a little bit more dinero. And so in Stephanie Engel's case, she's got a little one who's 2 years old. And so it's a childcare thing for her. And she had some arrangements that won't be in place for the next year. Now, the year after, he'll be old enough for a pre-K. So that's why if you get a chance to read her letter, you'll see her hoping that we might welcome her back in the future. Okay. I have worked on a temporary option for that situation. And I think I have something that may work out. And I'm in conversations with that person. Sure.
You said if I get a chance to read the letter, I clicked on these. Am I supposed to be able to?
You should be able to see the letters. Yeah.
Okay, when I click on those, it says I need permission.
I had to ask for permission for one of them and then granted it. So
Okay.
you just click.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know that was part of the
In
process.
your place,
You shouldn't have to now, because once, I think they were shared for everyone.
I've run into that before on some of the links and just figured, well, we discuss it when we get to the meeting, so I never really made a big deal about it.
Anytime you don't have access, you can, if it's got a link on the agenda, you can say request access.
Yeah.
They're usually pretty quick about getting into it. Yeah.
Well, then I wouldn't ask ignorant questions if I. Thank you for explaining that. I move that we approve the consent agenda items.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Unanimous, okay. Leah?
First, we're gonna do the revenue and expenditure report. And the biggest change on here has been, and also affected on our May payment, because usually we go through and they do the state school fund, does a May adjustment for the last year. So everybody puts in their audit information from all of our schools from last year. And they'll look at what went out and what the number of enrollment for your school. And then they'll reconcile all of the school districts, and you're either going to pay or you're going to get some money. Still, I think there's 6 schools out there that have not received their audit. Yes, so they actually are supposed to get your audit in by January 3rd, or you do not get your state school funds, so they have not had their funding 5 months. So that also affects the rest of us, because we can't reconcile completely until, so now they're still on estimated, information until we can get that buttoned up. But they said, well, they're still gonna send out our May payments, and we are about 27,000 short, because our enrollment dropped, they said, in April and May. We dropped about, it was 8 students back then. So that is our state school fund update. We also are excited that we have about 17 students who are going to be, who are already on the wait list for next year that want in. And we're hoping that number will still continue to increase as we've got our FFA program we were excited about, and the new changes that are happening in South on Fox. So we've already seen some changes there. That was the update for that report. Questions, and there's the voucher report. Were there any questions on that?
I have some. Okay, so page 3, we have a lot of dumpsters. I was confused if that was related to the construction, or we just haven't paid our dumpster bill for 6 months,
It looked
or?
like it was 6 months worth of bills to me.
Yeah.
2 dumpsters at $350 each
For 6
for
months.
6 months. It did add up to that. I didn't understand why we hadn't paid our bill, but I'm sure that's
Yes.
probably because they hadn't.
Usually it's not paid monthly, it's paid on. So we have 2 containers, we got 350 usually.
But normally it's quarterly, so we do
Normally
2
it's-
quarters at a time.
They missed sending us a bill. Get a quarterly bill, that it was supposed to be quarterly, so.
Right.
Then they sent us one for everything.
For January through June.
Page 10, there's a pre-K view board,
Yes, they got a
Looks like
smart
that.
board
like that.
down like this, the upgraded version, where it's at their level. And it's also one where it can, so it's got a special hanger, I should say, where it can either go up high so that they can't touch it, or it can be at their level so that she can have them come interact. So we're able to get it so it's up out of their way. She doesn't want them to be able to have it, access to it, but it also comes down so they can interact. She needs it.
Wow, fancy.
And that was covered by the preschool promise grant.
Cool.
And I have a mixed feeling about all the technology. I know there's a lot of new research coming out, so.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, one of these times we should probably discuss what our future is gonna look like in that area. Page 19, the bully fee, is that for our construction project?
Yes,
I've always been on the other side, so it's like, really? The owners have to pay a fee?
yes, that is for the seismic. And yes, and it will get reimbursed.
Page 21, a sinking fund report.
That was our bond. We had to go in and get our arbitrage, and they went back to 2010. That was their fee
About that. Okay. Page 22, a math workshop. I was curious about that.
One of our teachers is, so with the ESD provides what's called a REN grant, and it provides the teachers it provides them money so that they could get more professional development for their math. And so those particular teachers, they're actually going to be going to a math workshop, and they're going to be taking a.
Is it Ben Tudor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's flying.
Oh,
And
wait, that's the one in Minnesota, or, yeah.
Okay, so that would,
that's also why you'll see the flights and everything.
okay.
So, yes, so this is going to be part of that workshop. And it's a software, and they can use that, take that, and then use it to teach for the next year. And then they can also teach for all of these other teachers. Under this.
Train them all.
Okay. And what grade? I mean,
K5.
Elementary.
okay. So is that the Generation Genius software
Yes.
too? Okay. Flights.
Yeah, and it's about a total of about $8,000 to $9,000 we're able to spend on travel. Just travel alone was just they got a $5,000 budget, and then being able to.
Wow. And then on page 36, OADA lodging. Not sure what that means for. Is that
correct?
That's James's. Yeah, that's the travel going to his conference for his AD.
Oh,
We're gonna have
Athletic
like-
director.
gotcha. Page 37, something about class 2, step 8. Like, what is that?
That is our preschool teacher needs to reach step 8 to become a certified preschool promise teacher. So this is, she's taking a class to reach step 8.
Got it, okay. And then page 41, JAMF software. We got a software fund.
That one.
You did great. You know, the ones that I was like.
That's the IT subscription that.
Oh, that's for the iPads.
Upgrading it.
There's some subscriptions you have to pay.
Renewal subscriptions.
Gotcha. And it sounds like Clint has a question.
Yeah, I just noticed the teacher reimbursements for the health and wellness. I remember you talking about that in the budget meeting, but they weren't all the same. Most of them were 150, but then others were different.
We will reimburse up to 150. So if they turn the receipt for 137, then I give them 137.
Yeah.
But if they went over, they spent 162, I'll still give them one.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
The adjustment preschool promise funding. To give you guys the information. So in our meeting, we officially got the 12 slots for $15,650 per slot. So that's a guaranteed $187,800. You make it a little bit bigger. Which leaves us here. Okay. So yeah, we're getting 12 slots per slot, and we're going to get 187,800, and we've got this for 2 years. And then I kind of blocked out some information, but we have the total FTE is should be. It should be 2.4. But the total salaries is going to cost us $91,806. Then if you scroll over we can show you the total benefits. This is our PERS, this is social security, workers' comp, paid family leave, and insurance, which total benefits. Here with the total salaries and benefits for the program, just that is going to cost $171,000. You scroll back, thanks Donna. This is the additional costs that usually are food, supplies. The only equipment that we still need to purchase is we do need they need a newer computer with a printer, their own printer down there. So that's what we have budgeted here. Their assessments, because they were required to do certain assessments with the Preschool Promise. And they have their own cameras down there through the ESD, and that's the only thing that we about $75 a month for that. So that's why we have the cameras are separate. So after you look at everything budgeted, this is what we'd have left. So total grant funds, total of the salaries and benefits, and total of what we would have to spend for here, we'd have zero left, which really funds our whole program. So I wanted to give you guys the numbers, but I also want to let you know that I have a conflict of interest, so I can't give you any more information, I should say, because I do have a little one that's going to be in the program, because we wanted to talk about possibly whether or not you guys wanted to charge the families so we don't make this 12 other slots.
It's a talking point that we discussed the last meeting, and I was tasked with inquiring with some other districts about how they're managing this. And I said, well, I know some in the county that are similar size, that have programs on their campus that are Preschool Promise as well. Those districts are North Douglas, Yoncalla, and Elkton. Okay. And so I spoke with leaders in all three places and asked them explicitly how they manage their extra slots that they have for their families, particularly with families that don't make the criteria for getting into Preschool Promise. Because we were talking about, do we charge, how much do we charge, sliding scale, what's it look like a matrix, what is it? So anyway, I talked to these three colleagues, and I'll tell you what each of them do. One of them uses a combination of federal funds to SIA monies and title monies to offset the costs for the parents. Okay, one does that. Another district says they're not charging any of their parents anything. If there were any costs, they would just absorb them because they don't want their parents to have to pay for it. Okay. Another one says we just charge a flat $300 because we don't want to get in the bargaining business of saying, you make this much and you make that much. All three of them had one operational line of thinking that I think is really important to consider. All three of them said the thing that they were most fearful of in any of this is that if somebody doesn't make that fiscal threshold, yes, some might, make 3 times that number. But some might just accidentally get over that number because they're out cutting cords of wood or whatever it takes to get by. And now all of a sudden, because they've worked to get by, now they no longer qualify. And so they said they don't want any of their families to be in a situation where they're not able to access pre-K in their own community when it is something that is such a high commodity anywhere in the county. So with that, I wanted to reissue the charge to the board for your consideration on how to manage our additional slots that we have. Okay. We have 15 slots, 12 of them are paid for. Actually, the money that comes from the state will pay for the whole program. Right. Okay. In some of the conversations that I had with Preschool Promise, they said that they expect parents to compensate the program, and originally they said at the same rate that that they're paying.
They're funding.
They're funding. Yeah, we're saying that. When I asked my colleagues about that very point, they said, yeah, right, is what they said. They said they're not taking into consideration that we are, that it's our facility that we're paying for. It's our electricity, it's our custodial, we're doing everything to support the program here. So But, so there, my colleague's perspective was that they are carrying that other cost, but it's in other ways other than just outright monetary gift from parents or fee from parents. So those are the three examples that I saw. Title money combined with SIA money in one district. The other one was just straight out of the budget. And the third one was $300. All three of those were board-approved actions, which is why I kind of give it back to you.
$300 per what?
Per month,
Per month,
Per student.
per student, yeah.
right?
A couple questions that come to my mind are, A, how do we determine those 3 slots that are not qualified slots? How do we determine if we have 4 kids or 10 kids or whatever that wants to go? How do we decide who gets those 3 spots?
So I can answer some of that. Okay, so currently we do a lot of first come, first serve. Okay, all right. Now, first off, you also have to understand when we're getting the applicants who are coming in, we have to find out if they qualify or not. If they do not qualify, then we put them in that waiting list outside, you might say, right? Okay, then it would be first come, first serve. I think that one. Also giving priority to anybody who's in our district. Okay, because, and that's an important thing to consider because we have, the preponderance of our students come from out of the district. So I think we need to prioritize our in-district folks first.
I agree with that. Do we have that in some sort of a written policy? Because it seems like it needs.
I can craft that. I just want to get guidance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense because somebody in district is at least paying taxes in the district. And so they are funding it in some way. And then my other question would be, currently the funding for the 12 funded slots covers the cost of the program. With the wages and the insurance and everything going up constantly, it seems to me that in the future, that may not be the case. And so our policy right now needs to maybe take that into consideration, that in the future, 12 funded spots may not cover the cost of the program. If you have to add an extra half of a person, if you have to have extra food, if you're spending the entire budget right now, we're right on the edge of it's not funded. So I would bring that up. So be considered.
I think as far as preference for who gets the spots also should include if they're working here. And even if they live out of district, if they work at the school.
Do you think that's a priority if they are, is it a double priority if they work here and they live in the district? No, the next question is.
1 point for working here, 2 points for living in
The next question would be is what if they work here but they don't live here? Because we have both, right?
Right.
So.
Well, I agree with what you said, Valerie. At the same time, I could take the other side of that argument and say that seems kind of like, I don't know, favoritism or it doesn't, I don't know if it's fair or not, if it's a fair criteria. I agree with it, but I'm not sure that it was.
And I can push back your perspective as well, which is that if that is something we offer as something to employees, it's actually something you see in business where they offer a pre-K or they offer childcare in some of the businesses.
Yeah.
In bigger places. So
sure. So well, we have a teacher that's going to be in that position in a year. Sounds like.
Yeah.
The teacher that we'd like to have. Right.
I mean, it can certainly be a drawing factor for getting some parents to work, right? If their parents are kids, then, oh, great, there's a pre-K there. I don't have to worry about juggling one more thing, trying to figure out where my kid's going to go to preschool.
And is income a consideration? Would you want to consider, like, let's say 3 people were in the district and now, and then now the 4th one wants to come in also in the district, say, but how do you choose which one does not come in? Would it be based on income? Figuring that a wealthier family could, put this kid somewhere else.
First come, first
first served at that point. If everything else is equal, I would say first come, first served, waiting one.
Maybe that'll never happen, but I got a feeling it might because it'll probably be a fairly high demand opportunity for people to actually have kids in preschool here.
Yeah, year by year, it's gonna change.
Yeah.
There's gonna be years that we have a lot of kids of that age, and there might be other years where we struggle to fill 12 spots.
I do like the idea of also giving priority to our people who work here. Because we want to try and keep our good people that we already have here. And this is something that will help make it easier for them to stay. And I think that's good. And I think that could be a double priority if they're here working and also in district. That could be something that could weigh in.
I would agree. I think it's worth giving them double points, and then if they work here, if they're not in district, they get 1 point. They live in district, they get 1 point. Out of district and you don't work there, well, then you better hope. Nobody else is.
There are hopefully fewer people in district.
Well, and even the first come, first serve thing, you know, if you work here, you're gonna have a leg up on that. It's like insider trading, you kind of know about the program, you kind of know what the rules are to get in, you know, so.
Right.
But if we're gonna serve, if we're going to, you know, give preference to people that work here, then I guess that's not.
And basically then no charge period. Is that what we're looking at
I
now?
would like to be able to do it for no charge personally, if we can, but I think that's something that we need to look at each year. I mean, if it really starts getting upside down, then I think we need to.
So start out that way. Yeah, I agree.
So, what I can do is I can take what you're saying to me, and I'm gonna repeat it here in a second, and go back and draft something
Yeah.
that we can use as a guiding for this part. Basically, what I'm hearing you say is that it's somewhat of a point system. If a person lives in district, that would be worth a point to the good. If they work here, that would be a point to the good. So if they work here and they live in district, that'd be 2, okay? And anything else would be determined by first come, first serve. So if there's 2 that each have a point, first come, first serve. Okay. Additionally, no charge for 25, 26, but that's to be reconsidered annually.
Yeah.
Okay, so that it's not a given, and then it would be reconsidered by the board, each, May or whatever. How are we going to do it for year 24?
I mean, especially with the way federal funding is right now, and yeah, it's just so up in the air whether stuff's gonna get gold or rose or what have you. I think we've got to take it at a year by year basis at this point.
If I'm capturing that correctly, I'll craft something, bring it back.
I think, I mean, I would love to see us be able to handle it within our budget and not ever have to charge the parents for it. And however we do that, I would like to see that happen.
I have one other thing I'll say about that. I think that the path that you're talking about traveling, I agree with. I think we have to make sure that our colleagues all understand that we are making a lot of contributions to that program that may not be on that spreadsheet. Okay, there's a lot of contributions we're making that way. I mean, just the space alone is quite a considerable contribution.
Yeah.
So we can't lose sight of that fact in this, because I think that that's a substantial contribution to the whole thing.
I have a question. Do we have any policies or ideas about somebody losing a spot? So for example, let's say we are offering this program for free to everyone. And we all know that when people pay for something, there's more value assigned to it, right?
Mhm.
I could envision a situation, where attendance is low for a particular family or something, or they just aren't prioritizing getting their child there. And there may be other families in the waiting list that would value that more. So perhaps we can consider also some policy around
losing a spot if you're not meeting certain expectations so that
Right.
somebody else could come in.
So preschool promise has the policies along that line already. Yeah,
Great.
yeah. And I won't quote them, but I think it's about 85% of sense, if I remember correctly. And though we had a couple families there were concerned about this year, but they said, you're so new, it's so late in the spring. And they said, let's just not even tinker with it right now. But the expectation is this. Jenny's really well aware of it. She's tracking all that stuff, and she actually reports it monthly. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's monthly.
We're at 88%.
And this is only 1 year per student, right? I mean, a student gets 1 year in this
Well,
program.
they could be there for two.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that will make a bit of difference too.
So the other thing I would say is when you are thinking about those 3 spots, do we prioritize one of those spots for somebody who qualifies financially, who couldn't get in the first 12?
That's why I was talking about income.
Prioritize, because it,
So
Page three,
what I'm saying
four,
is,
right?
what I'm saying is,
4 and 5. 3, 4.
Yeah.
So I would say that we would prioritize a first-year 4-year-old over a first-year 3-year-old.
What about if they have
okay, wait,
siblings?
I'm sure I understand.
Do we give any preference for siblings?
Well, okay, let me go back to my first question. Got you the left-hand turn on here. So let me first get the answer to what your thoughts are on the qualified families. Qualified families, are they prioritized? I'm gonna say qualified, I'm talking financially qualified families. Do they? And if we have a bumping order, if you will, do they take one of those other spots? It's, hold on. Could they?
I'd say leave the ones that work for the program in the first come, first served bracket for those 12 slots.
I have to remove my question. I just realized that actually, I don't think it's possible. What I'm asking is, I don't think it's possible, because if we have somebody who qualifies, they're gonna be one of the first 12 anyway, so you get the question.
Unless there's 13, which I think was your original question.
Well, it might be, yeah. Might
I
be.
think that was what got asked. It said, okay, there's 13 that qualify, and we only have 12 spots. So we're going to prioritize one of the 3 extra spots for a qualified.
Yeah.
So then you're saying you're prioritizing that. We're making the assumption that people that work here don't qualify?
Not necessarily.
Well,
I mean, that's another, we can get into all kinds of these on that one.
right. That's why this is.
So I think you're right about the 13th. Okay, so let's ask just about the 13th. Should that happen? Is the 13th person, if there's a 13th person who applies,
They qualify.
and they qualify,
But they don't work here and they don't live in the district. Do they
Right,
get a
you give
spot?
them priority over the other points
Right.
system. It
Well,
almost seems like you would in a way. I mean,
so first of all, I need to know, is there a deadline for applying?
in order to
That's a
qualify.
good question.
So in the beginning of the year,
you can apply your,
Like,
your,
that's like on the weekends.
Can I say something?
yeah.
I do know that there's a preschool promise place in River Creek in Sunderland. So if you don't if your spot's filled up and you qualify, they would probably put you in another
Right.
location.
Up to that number 12.
Yeah,
Maybe that would be the easiest way for us to let that standard determine, sending them to another place rather than try to work it into our system.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, if they're not from our district,
Yeah, if they're not from our district anyway, because if they are, they get the point. They got one of the.
I personally think that if you don't qualify, you should have to pay something. I think we should have a fee, because that's going to be a qualifying factor by itself. And I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but And that's why when we talked about this before, I didn't only want to know what other schools were doing with this program, but what does private pre-K cost?
Well, that's
Very
a lot.
Well, and so
It's a big value.
I just think there should be some sort of a fee associated with the spots. I realize what we're trying to do, and I also know that if our goal is to make it free, every year we will find a way to work it somewhere in that giant budget. We'll figure out a way to get the money. If that budget that you just showed me, if next year it says, hey, we're $8,000 short, we'll all go, we can take it from here, take it from there. We're going to find a way. So it's kind of disingenuous to say that next year we're going to reevaluate that, because I know that we'll set a precedent and then we're going to want to kind of keep to it. I'm of the opinion that we should set a precedent that includes a fee, even if it's a nominal fee and it's not a lot. It kind of makes it I just think a little bit more fair. And
Well, the program.
only one opinion in the room, but that is.
I agree. I kind of understand what you're saying. That's why I was asking about the $300, because the program is set up to benefit people who cannot afford to do it any other way.
Right.
So you might say it's a bit of a welfare type program.
Well, the fact that it exceeds, we've chosen we could have 15 kids.
Yeah.
I guess that was based on personnel, based on the space. I don't, so it's a bit of a complicated issue. You start thinking of all the what ifs and all the what ifs that exist in our society. It shouldn't be, and none of these things really may come to pass, or it may only be 1 year out of 5 that we have, but I think we need to set ourselves up to avoid a precedent that we don't want to live with.
So there's a very good possibility that we fill the 12 slots and then and we don't have anybody in district that wants to go for the 13th or 14th or 15th slot. And we don't have anybody that's working here that wants them. So then it's a matter of somebody from out of district comes in that can't afford child care and starts filling those slots. And they don't have to pay anything, just like the people that qualify don't have to pay anything. Yeah, that's basically the type of thing I could see if it's in district, that should be a priority, because like you say, they're helping us pay for this program.
Well, and I definitely see it being a perk for employees.
And I do too.
So the other way to approach that is to just cap it. And
Cap the 12.
only permit employees or people in district in those other 3 slots.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to do it. Cap the 12 and say, if you don't qualify for the 12, you'll have to, try to get one of the outside slots in Myrtle Creek, or like Don was saying. But we have these 3 specifically for people in district or that work here.
There is no repercussion, there's no repercussion for our program with Preschool Promise if we don't have 15.
Right.
Okay, they're only worried about the 12.
Yeah.
Well, based on what you said previously, it sounded like the guideline was if we had more than 12 that we charged what they pay.
That's what they were saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question is, what happens if Preschool Promise finds out that, let's say we're funding 3 or 4 or 5 more spots and we're not charging those kids, or we're not charging those families anything? If I'm in charge of Preschool Promise, I now feel like you're taking advantage of me. I'm paying too much if you can afford to run a 15-kid school off of my 12-kid budget.
That's the question I asked my colleagues, and that's why they told me their response was about the other money that we put into that program through the facility and the utilities and the upkeep, the custodial roles.
Insurance.
Which makes sense. I can totally buy that argument. But my question is, does Preschool Promise buy that argument, or does that put your funding in jeopardy?
So the other answer to that question is that those other programs have been going on for years doing that. Here in the county with Preschool Promise.
Right.
It's probably not even on the radar if it came right down to it,
Probably not.
I like the idea of benefiting the people in the district that are actually paying taxes here, and I like the idea of benefiting an employee that actually comes here every day and would have a young child that they could put in, and I think both of those are great.
And with regards to siblings, okay, I just don't know, man. You know, I'm just trying to imagine, there's only two spots, I mean, like twins, right? Okay, all of a sudden, great question. Maybe that's the time we go to 16 because it happens to be two. I mean, who knows, right? But I don't see us taking one and not the other. It's kind of, I mean, if one's a 3-year-old and one's a 4-year-old, that might be a different conversation.
That's what I'm saying, siblings, because, I mean,
Yeah,
it could be twins, but it
Yeah.
could also be just a year apart.
yeah.
That happens.
I never realized until tonight that it was actually, that they would be eligible for 2 years. I was like,
I thought it was 1 year too.
Pre-K was 1 year. I didn't realize it was 2 years.
That changes my vision of what we're doing here a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's actually 3.5. Yeah, you have to be 3.5 by September. Yeah.
I don't
But
think
still, some kids could be in the program 2 years.
I think we've complicated this thing enough without worrying about the siblings. You got it pressed down.
Okay, so I'll come back with some language for you guys next time. You guys can hammer on me, okay?
All right.
Perfect.
I'm totally good.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm just glad that we got it going. I was a
Yeah.
skeptic of this when it
That
first
kind of hurt
came
my
out.
feelings, Cliff.
I know. I don't pull any punches, you know that, but I was a bit of a skeptic. And the fact that you all pulled it off and that it's funded, and I'm happy about that and proud of it. I think you did great.
Yeah, good job.
It's a better use of that old house than renting it out to some redemption.
Well, and it's, yeah, I'm trying to decide who gets in and who doesn't, right? It's kind of hard because I don't know the makeup of what we even have now, how many are
Yeah.
older students versus younger students, how many of them could
We
come
have,
back
we have
next year
7 who will be graduating to our kindergarten.
Cool.
out of the,
And just, I mean, okay, so I gotta tell, I'm excited to see what happens here. Because these kids down there, they already know the numbers and letters. Some of them are already reading words,
Excellent.
okay? Whereas what we are currently getting in the kindergarten is that 3-year-old in a
Right.
sense.
So these kids are
Nothing.
a year ahead.
So they don't even have to sit
They know how
still.
to sit still, yeah.
Yeah.
Now that they go through. the
Yeah,
program.
I think it's just gonna be a game changer in our kindergarten. And our kindergarten teacher and I've been having some conversations about, you know, it's gonna be different now because you're not picking up where they were or where you have them. These guys, they're gonna have some kids that are ready. And you're also gonna have some kids now that are like the ones that she's been getting. So she might have 7 coming in from there and another 6 who have had nothing.
Right.
Okay, which, you know, bless her heart, she's doing that job.
So if they're in it for 2 years, then they should get their second year. Are we saying that that's automatic? That they get their,
I would prefer kids to at least get 1 year. So I would say if we've got older students and this is their only opportunity to get in, I'd rather have them in than a younger kid.
Preference going to the 4-year-olds.
yeah, that's another nuance right there.
Prioritizing for
Who knew?
Because otherwise they miss out altogether.
Right, but I don't know if that's a priority, like to even
I
apply.
think that might answer the sibling question though. Okay, right. So, you know, I know you got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. We really don't have room for a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's very important that they get at least a year in that program before they start. How many kindergartners can we take or will we take in our K class?
When we get to the enrollment thing, we can verify with certainty, but I'm not sure if that number is off the top of my head.
All right,
That link could have it.
moving on, budget hearing.
Budget hearing's gonna be at 5:30, your next meeting. So instead of 6 o'clock, you'll be here at 5:30, and it's just an opportunity for the public to see the budget one more time. It's gonna go back into the paper, of what was approved at our budget meeting. And then, yeah, we'll do the budget hearing, and then at that next meeting, we'll adopt the budget. That, and then resolution, And this is just doing a change in our appropriations. We got a couple grants this year that were not allocated. So to be able to use the funds, so we don't go over our appropriated amount. So we need to do a resolution. So we're gonna add the early literacy grant, which is gonna be funding our summer school program. The preschool promise grant, which is currently funding the preschool. And then the Mercy Chip grant, which was funding our preschool playground. So just making it adjusted, goes into our Fund 220, existing was $948,895, and then you adjusted the changes, adding in new grants.
How many kids do we have slated for summer school right now?
What's that?
How many kids for summer school?
We're aiming for 24. So we're aiming for, we have not settled on who they are just yet, but we have a meeting coming up where we're going to be going through the data. The testing is just getting back to us.
That's all I
Is summer school a get to or a have to?
Well, you can't really have to, okay, as much as you might want to, okay? The truth is you can't. So that's what one of the things we're trying to do is make it appealing by taking them on some special field trips at the end of the weeks. So we're trying to make it appealing. We're going to serve them breakfast and lunch. Hopefully that food will get here as well.
When I was in school, it was a have to.
Yeah, I hear you. My summer school was a have to. I had, I'm not giving you a choice. It's that or, do the grade over. So it seemed like I have to me.
So is the resolution an action item?
Yes, so I need you to vote on moving it to an action item.
I'll move this resolution to an action item.
Second, seconded, all in favor? That's everyone. Perfect. There. Enrollment report. She's like, give me a minute. I'm fixing something. All right, so pre-K was up there. She just scrolled it, so I can't see it.
Yeah, I'm going to try and check it out. We dropped 3 more students. We're at 213 now. Kindergarten, 16. And our kindergarten has in it 14. Currently. Yeah.
So seeing that we had a drop in our funding because of 2 months of low enrollment, we're gonna, how come we don't do an average for the whole year? I mean,
Yeah, they'll, yeah, kind of look at it, but.
so
you can
we'll
see the
get,
state report at the bottom, so they'll do a average out of that. So right now, that's how they had have us at is 224.74 as a weighted average January through March. So then those numbers just really do drop off.
And what's aggravating about this is that's what it is in every district. So it's like we're saving money.
They just do.
If every district drops, where do those kids go? They
right?
Dropouts.
I mean, you'd think, okay, they left here because they went somewhere else, but.
Out of state or wherever it might be.
Gotcha.
It's just the end of this school year, so they just kind of, I don't have to show up.
I'll start next August. Oh, you guys want action?
Action items.
You one at a time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I move we approve action item A.
Seconded, all in favor? Everyone.
Move that we approve action item B.
Seconded.
Seconded, all in favor?
You try that with some enthusiasm.
I move that we approve action item C.
Here we go.
Seconded, moved and seconded, all
All
in
right,
favor?
2 hands up.
Woo-hoo!
And move that we approve action item B.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Awesome.
Okay.
I move to approve action item E.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Move to approve action item F.
Second?
Seconded.
You didn't say all in favor.
All in favor, everyone.
50.
Move that we approve action item G.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
I move that we approve action item H.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor?
Understood.
Move that we approve action item I.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Everyone. There is no executive session as far as I know. Director reports?
Oh, our baseball team won.
Yeah.
15-10.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were we playing?
Bonanza. So
Ah.
our, bye Trish. Thanks.
Bye, Trish.
Thank you. Yeah, our last two games, doubleheader will be at Bonanza on Saturday. And then baseball's done.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I have something too. Community member, I'm going to be standing in line waiting for a lab draw or something. And there were these guys standing there, which was also kind of an unusual thing. Men standing there talking about Days Creek Charter School and how they were hearing really good things about what's going on here. Excellent. So we just want to pass that along. So
I ran into a nice young couple on Saturday at the farmer's market at my booth that live in Myrtle Creek, and they have 3 children attending our school. Really excited because we said we lived in East Creek. And so many kids that go to the East Creek pool. So we're also thrilled with what's going on. It's wonderful.
yeah, exciting to hear back from the community.
And are you guys all aware of how well our girls relay team is doing in track? They have broken the school record,
Oh, wow.
4x100. And I heard that they are second in state right now.
Wow.
Am I correct, Leah?
Wow.
So we will be going to state competition. Our boys 4x400 relay team is not doing too shabby either. And so they are also looking at potentially getting a spot in state.
All right. Awesome. There's something in the water, huh?
Very fun. So yeah, we have some good athletes out there doing some good things in track. Very fun.
Nice. Announcements. May 14th, middle school science trip to the coast. Ooh, that'll be fun. May 16th is the evening of excellence.
That'll be at 6 p.m. at the casino.
May 20th to 22nd is outdoor school for the 5th and 6th grade. Not up there, but on May 22nd should be the FFA banquet. Is that invitation only or
No,
how's that?
I believe so.
Okay.
It's at 6 p.m.
6 p.m., okay. May 29th, 2nd and 3rd grade get to go to the Oregon Caves. May 29th, baccalaureate is at the Killer Church.
6 p.m.
And May 30th, graduation here.
7 p.m.
So
Am I having a role in
But yeah, you're supposed to be speaking.
did you know you're giving a speech?
Before you go and adjourn on me, I just wanted to thank you guys for the dinner last week. That was just really cool, and I know the staff just, it's hard to explain, because you guys, when you come in and you do that, you get to see them kind of come in and kick back and enjoy the, but generally speaking, that's not the way it is. Generally speaking, they come in, they grab what they can, they go back out, because they're gonna try and do X, Y, and Z, if they can just get to the microwave before somebody else does, okay? And so to actually be able to roll in, it's all ready there and laid out, and be able to actually sit down and break bread with one another, just doesn't happen enough, in my opinion, and I just really appreciate it. I mean, even though I might have been breaking a little bit more bread than some others. It's good for me to be in there too.
Yeah,
But
it was.
the truth is I just know they deeply appreciate it. I wanted you guys to know that.
I thought it was great during the lunch, there were time periods, I was just feeling the room, and the vibe in the room was just great. It was a really good vibe. Everybody was happy, people were talking. You know, it's just exactly what you want to see, people just having fun together, you know.
Right.
And we were having fun. We all had a good time too, so it was great.
Good.
I think it's a good place to be.
I see no public for input. So,
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
moved and double seconded, all in favor?
There's a good way about that.
Great job, guys. See you all soon.
Thank you so much.
See you Thursday night.
Early.
Thursday night, Thursday at 5:30.
This is 5:30, sir. That's it.
I've been reading.
Oh, we can't go out this way.
I know, we only get through the.
Actually, I'm working on this.
Oh, wow, a little bit, and I know someone else in my guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just turn it red and then turn it off.